Hey, Daily Doses. This is Pastor Larry with Bonus Monday. I look back at something from last weekend's message, and we were taking a look at Revelation chapter 21, the first 8 verses. And the overarching theme was when victory is certain, but reality is painful, what do we do? And we saw that vision that Jesus gave of the absolute certainty of his victory and his promise those who hang in there, who are victorious, are going to inherit all this, but the cowardly are going to lose all of this. And at one point, I started out by pointing out that the path of victory, even when it's certain, is difficult. And we can find ourselves in difficulties for a variety of reasons, as we pop them up here. It's strewn with danger, this path of victory. The direct attack of our enemy, sometimes our own foolish choices, sometimes life in a fallen world. And what I want to do today is just briefly consider, well, how do we respond and what's the difference between each one of those? So the direct attack of the enemy. You know, the enemy cannot read your mind. He cannot put thoughts in your mind. But what he can do is create the culture that we live in with completely ungodly values. He's called the God of this world. What he can do, if allowed, is allowed even hardships into our life. The book of Job would tell us he can't just willy-nilly do that. He has to have the permission of the Lord. But whatever it is that's disappointing, discouraging, and kind of broken in our life, can be in many ways traced back to Satan because it goes back to Garden of Eden, this fallen world, which we'll circle back to. So what do you do if it's a direct attack? Well, you just do the right thing. Jesus is our great model. He's starving to death in his temptation, but he's not going to turn that rock into bread. He's not going to jump off the pinnacle of the temple to get the adoration of all the people and to presume the Father's angels are all going to protect him. It's like, no, I'm going to do what God says to do. That definition of faith I'm always giving you. Trusting him enough to do what he says. Even if it's not working right now, even if it doesn't look like it will work, under the attack of the enemy, we're told to stand firm. Never do the wrong thing to get out of the hard thing. Now, what about our own foolish choices? What happens with that? Well, we need to understand if it's something we brought upon ourselves, we more likely than not are going to have to live with those consequences. You know, the Bible is full of stories of people that were restored, were forgiven, and God did great things. But the consequences of their behavior in this earthly life continued. So what do you do when you look around and you're stuck with the consequences of a decision that if you could go back in time, you would have never made? Well, once again, it's the same path, the path of faith. The 1 Corinthians, one of Paul's letters, says, there's no trial, no testing that has overtaken us, but such as is common to man. Other people have gone through it, and there's always a way of escape. What is the way of escape? For a mess of my own making, a mess I catch myself in from other people. It's do the right thing. It's never too late to do the right thing. Will it fix every consequence? Not necessarily. By the way, sometimes it does, and then we make our movies, our books, and we have our speakers tell that story. But I got to be honest with you, for most of us, no, it goes on. But it's far better than digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. To throw the shovel away and start following Jesus and do the right thing. There's always a right thing to do, no matter what the wrong thing you did earlier was. And then the third one is life in this fallen world. And in many ways, that circles back to the direct attack of the enemy. We find ourselves in a fallen world, the victims of things that we had nothing to do with. We're just literally that innocent bystander. What do? I do the exact same thing. I trust God enough to do what he says. Great biblical example would be a guy named Daniel, a righteous young man who was caught in the backwash of Israel's sin. He's kidnapped, taken 600 miles away, castrated, and forced to serve a demonic worshiping king who had destroyed his city and the temple of God. And what did he do? Well, read the book of Daniel. He kept doing the right thing, never the wrong thing, and God showed up. So, very simple. Wherever it is you are, there's always a next step of obedience. Take it. No matter how you got there, no matter who's responsible, take it, and you will always be glad you did.